Hello. So we will be live in a minute.
In
Okay.
a minute. Okay, just
I
just
guess we are live. I guess we are live. It's 4 already, so we are live.
good afternoon, namaste, and welcome to yet another conversation with ICANN. And I'm delighted to be facilitating a conversation with Swaroop ji. And if I can get into the topic that we are discussing right in the beginning, Swaroop Rawal ji is someone who has been spreading positivity. It doesn't matter what she's doing, but she's been spreading positivity as a teacher, as an actor, as an author, as a life skills educator. And I am honored and delighted to be in conversation with her today as we discuss what sort of life skills we need to develop and we have developed during this pandemic. Let me begin by giving a little introduction about the India COVID Action Network. India COVID Action Network is a network which developed during the pandemic, and it is working on helping people who have been the hardest hit, the underprivileged. And the uniqueness about this movement is that it is connecting those who need help with those who can provide help. And it's an online network. What we are doing is we are connecting the two, and we are making sure that as many lives as possible has been impacted. So as of today, nearly 4 lakh lives have been impacted. There are more than 3,300 NGOs which are already on board, and we have more than 4,000 COVID warriors. Welcome, Swaroopji, and thank you so much for joining us today. Namaste.
My pleasure. Namaste.
Swaroopji, when we talk about things like life skills, the good thing is it's such a broad topic that we can cover literally anything and anything under the sun with it. But when a pandemic like this hits and we have redefined life literally, what do you think has come out as the most important thing for humans today?
No, Charu, I'll have to correct you there. Life skill is broad, but it's not so broad that everything and anything comes under it. That is the mistake a lot of people make, and I think it's a good forum for me to correct it. There are two things. One is life skills and one is livelihood skills. So
Right.
livelihood skills would be anything that has to do with economy and earning money, or being cleanliness, like running the house, cooking, etc., etc. But life skills are psychosocial skills, and they are the WHO has kind of narrowed down to 10 core life skills. So that is what usually the world over works with. I work with a slightly different list, which is not so different from the WHO, but it is, I think, a more effective skill list. So what I'm talking about is, when we're talking about life skills, is I'm talking about understanding and managing emotions, understanding self, creative thinking, critical thinking, problem solving, decision making, skills of empathy, and effective communication skills. These are the life skills we're talking about. So they're very well defined list. I mean, they're not like, they have this thing called the 21st century skill. That is a laundry list of random skills, but life skill isn't like that. Yes, Charu.
Right. Yeah. No, you're right. You've narrowed it down quite a bit for us.
Yes.
But I was looking at it from a skill of like a skill of survival. What is most
Charu,
essential?
I am not
for-
getting your question. So sorry.
Are you getting my voice clearly, Swaroopji? Yes, you are.
Yes, now I'm getting it. Yeah, now
I'm
I'm
sorry.
getting it.
Sometimes my internet connection fluctuates. So life skills can be equated with life-saving skills and making a person more and more self-reliant. Would that be the right way of putting it? Because till now I have associated life skills with things like
No, not
cook basic
yes.
food, know how to drive a vehicle so that I'm independent, know how to swim. So you wouldn't put them in the same category.
No, definitely not. Those would go in the livelihood skills, and those would definitely not be life skills. So life skills are basically skills that you need to to live an effective life, especially when you face problems in your life. And they are the skills that actually make you resilient. Okay, dhakka lage to baithne gaye types. You kind of get
Yeah,
up and start walking again. So these are the
absolutely.
skills, and these are the skills which are very important for mental health.
Yeah, so it's basically the skill to be able to reinvent yourself. You reach a roadblock or you
Yes,
fall down, you get hurt. You need to understand how to reconstruct yourself, find some
correct.
sort of inspiration within yourself, stand up again, and try again. And
Charu,
I
that's a
think
beautiful definition. Reinvent
so.
yourself. Yeah.
But Swaroopji, I'll tell you a personal experience. So many times we realize we are stuck in a rut. Every single day we are obsessing about one tiny thing in life we are unable to change. When 99 things could be going fine and going as per plan, but sometimes I feel it becomes human nature to obsess about and just keep thinking about that one thing which has suddenly started mattering over all the other positive things that are going right for you. So, how does somebody overcome a situation like that? I know I face it, and especially during the first few weeks of lockdown, my anxiety levels were so high, even though I
No, well, when you start obsessing, sorry, Charu, you're breaking terribly. I am not getting what you're saying.
I'm going
I
to
missed the
change
last
my
bit
internet
very
connection.
badly.
Yeah, no, I'm going to change my internet connection while we talk. And what I was trying to say is that when we deal with anxiety, it's usually focused on one or two key issues in life. It's never everything that's falling apart. So, how do you think we
So,
can overcome a situation like that?
So one of the things is like dealing with anxiety is it comes under understanding and managing your emotions. And of course, there is one thing I would like to say is that all life skills are interconnected. You cannot separate them, and they all kind of like when you're anxiety driven, it's about some problem that you need to solve, and you need to learn to manage your emotions well. But there is some very interesting things I'd like to share. For example, uh, anger, anxiety, fear, these type of emotions, they don't come alone. And there is this thing which when I'm teaching my students, I tell them that can you experience more than two emotions at one time? So they're like a little confused and saying, Arey, we are experiencing one, how to? So the reason is that when things like fear and anger, especially anger, is accompanied by another emotion. So I'm talking about the pandemic time, is that you would find a lot of people getting anxious, getting irritated, getting angry. The reason is they're not angry at it, but there is another emotion which is coming along with it, and that is fear. So when you are so
Yeah.
scared of the unknown and you don't know what's going to happen, I'll give you a live example. Is, for example, my youngest son had a film release. It was meant to be a theatrical release, but they didn't release it in the theater because of the pandemic. So they had to release it on the OTT platform. Now, I, as a mother, was very anxious because, pandemic, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what the new normal is going to be. So I was getting
Mhm.
very, very irritated and angry and, yelling at things till I took a stop and I thought, 1 minute, let me think what's happening. And I realized that
Mhm.
with the fear of the unknown is making me angry. You understand? So it
Right.
is, these things are very important in life skills, and they very well been defined and explained. So you need to, like, along with that comes problem solving, right? So there is a problem and that's making you anxious. So problem solving and decision making is a very, very important part of life skills. And there's another very interesting thing which comes along with it, because I remember that the minute you said reinvent yourself, not only do you need to think, balance logically, but you need to think creatively. For example, I teach using drama, and there is no physical distancing in my class. Now I need to start creatively start thinking कि pandemic के बाद मैं कैसे सिखाऊंगी, because we're going to be have to keep a physical distance,
Right.
like theaters, you see what they've started with the aeroplanes, flights, drawn the circles. Can you imagine? I mean, I know that when we get into Mumbai airport, you're banging into each other, lines and pushing and pulling and types like that. And now you're suddenly going to be standing in the circle, hands distance away from people. So that is creative thinking. You need to be able to think differently now because things have changed.
Right. And I would also
Yeah.
say it is adaptability. How quickly your mind can balance itself when the environment changes. So, adaptability, I think, now would be a very, very big life skill at a time like this, when there is a new normal suddenly. Everybody's work life has changed. You just explained how yours has changed. My work life has become, instead of sitting across the table from you, we are having this conversation from our respective homes today. So,
Yes,
I just
on
wanted to
Zoom.
know,
Yeah,
Swaroopji,
yeah,
and
that's
this is
true.
going to come in handy for everyone who's listening to us. Are there any physical skills that we can acquire which helps us to mentally adapt to a situation very quickly?
So physically, there is a thing called a health triangle, and in the health triangle, it's social, physical, and emotional. Emotional being mental. So that's one thing I used to keep talking. When I talk to the health ministers and the secretaries, I keep talking to them, saying that you can't just be worried about the health. You have to even think about the mind and the social, because for example, the very obvious one is blood pressure. Anxiety and blood pressure goes together, doesn't it? We all know that. And then the heart problems go along with it. But every health problem goes along with mental and social. So in if we're going to handle physical, we're going to handle mental. Now, to handle mental, we need to handle physical too, like doing exercises, like doing pranayam, even though these things come into livelihood skills, not life skills. But that would, I would explain it in a problem solving way, is that if you have this problem, you need to find a whole lot of different ways you can address the problem. And one of them is, physical. So you need to keep active, you need to breathe well, you need to drink a lot of water, you need to eat less and healthy. So these are the things that you need to do. And it's not possible to say that, oh, I can't go out for a walk. No, you don't need to. You need one yoga mat. That's all to do something. So it's, people who just want to make excuses for not doing physical things will go on making excuses. And people who don't will definitely find a way to, recover from a situation.
Yeah, I think that sounds a bit like me not wanting to do physical exercise. But taking this in a newer direction, Swaroopji, I'm in the middle age of my life right now. There are certain habits I've acquired my whole life, which might be very difficult to change today, even though I try. But how can we start impacting the lives of our children positively so that they grow up with the life skills they require and their life consequently is smoother? What advice would you have for parents or aunts and uncles who are around young children? How can we help them be more adaptive to situations?
See, the thing about life skills is that these are skills, right? So you can acquire them. And I do not want to agree with you by saying, your midlife. No, you're not there yet. I'm 62 and I'm still learning. So, you can always change. It is not true that you can't. It's just up to you to want to do it. Now, these are skills which you need to practice for a long time. You cannot just say that I'll acquire it in a short time. So, like for example, you go to a seminar and you hear this person talking about how good exercises and yoga is for you. and how much it'll make you better, healthy, solve this problem, solve that problem. So you go home and you start and you say, yes, I'm going to exercise every day. I'm going to do my yoga. I'm going to do my pranayama. I'm going to breathe and, I'm going to do this. And you start doing it. And then, Saturday comes and Sunday morning, everybody wants breakfast and you still haven't been able to do it. And I say, okay, forget it. I'll do it later on. Later on, you don't get time. Then comes Monday, and Mondays is like so stressful for everybody, including normal housewives. And then if the wife's a working woman, she's got double stuff. So, oh, today's pranayam and yoga is just gone. So let's forget it. I'll do it tomorrow. And then we just postpone it and we leave it. And we get out of the habit and it's over and gone.
Hmm.
Now I'll give you a second scenario, is where you go on doing it for 2, 3, 4 months, and then comes the 15, 20-day holiday where you go out, and then in the hotel room, there's no place. And then, you're doing this hectic touring and there's no place. And all these 4 months efforts have gone for a waste for those 2 months. And then when you return home, you say, forget it. Now I'll give you another scenario, is where you go on doing it. You take a break maybe one day, but you say, no, 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 I'm going to still do it. I go on doing it. And you go on doing it for 2 years, and you go on doing it for 3 years. And then when you go for a holiday, you go for a month holiday. But you can't do it there. But the minute you come back, you start again.
Right.
So that is the thing, is that you have to go on practicing it till जैसे मैं कहती हूँ कि तुम्हारे नस नस में आ जाता है life skill. So you need to do it. Now for parents and elder family people, there is one very beautiful thing that is called role modeling or modeling. Not role modeling, modeling actually, that's the term which we use in education. The habits you want your kids to pick up, you will have to do them. You cannot give a lecture on it and say, you do this, I'm not doing it. It's good for you. The kids are going to turn out and say, if it's so good, why aren't you doing it? Like, I think reading is a very important thing. And I know that when my kids were young, I used to read to them every day. I used to read to them every day. And, when they grew up and they started reading, then we all would sit down and read. Today, I have a family which is, like they're not all the time on the internet or the television and they're reading. And sometimes if I'm playing some silly game on the cell, I have my younger son coming up to me and saying, hello, mom, where's your book? So, that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. And Swaroopji, there's one more angle that I wanted to discuss with you. So, for a lot of us, usually what we do in life is we build up a moral support system for ourselves. And that is carried through our lives, also through physical contact, which is lacking in the times of COVID. I know for a fact that if I sit down with a friend with a cup of coffee and we have a chat, you always feel lighter, you always feel stronger to be able to deal with whatever emotions or stress you're going through in life. When life changes as drastically as it has right now, and the support system you always had around you is changing again, what advice do you have?
You're with your family, so I guess that's the best support system you could possibly ask for. I don't think you could ask for a better support system than that. So this is the best time for you to start becoming friends with your family, and start really understanding them, making up relationships, etc. Of course, the cell phones and Zooms and all that is there, so you don't really need to lose connectivity with your friends,
Yeah.
because family is a different thing and friends is a different thing. But I'm a great believer in family, and I do believe that being close and being there for your family is a very important thing. And suddenly, just the other day, Paresh was telling my elder son Anirudh that, Anirudh, I started loving you more in these days. Suddenly we are all 24/7, we are on each other's head. And that will be a time where you kind of say, oh, I missed this. with my family. And yeah, so
Yeah,
this is what
that's,
I
that's
feel. Yeah.
that's absolutely true. We kind of rediscover each other and we learn to spend more time together. And it's a beautiful perspective, because I think I'm lucky enough to be in lockdown with my mother and my son, so that connectivity is of course growing. But
Yeah.
I still hear complaints like, I'll give you an example. What my kid says to me frequently. He says, "Mama, school to abhi bhi jana padta hai." School का मजा तो तब आता था when we would meet friends, we would play in the playground, and
Definitely.
that
Yes.
was what his life was about. The larger part of his day was devoted to that. Now he still has to study. He's got classes which are over the internet, and it's difficult to explain to people, even college going students. So I work with a lot of youngsters. Even they tell us that the best part of college life is right now not existing for us, but the hard work we used to put in, all the study hours, the difficult part still exists. So advice for students.
No, I totally agree with you, Charu, that the worst part about learning is happening now. And I am so against this, Like you can imagine, I teach whatever I teach, you teach using drama, experiential learning, and games and fun. Online learning, the fun element is totally gone. The
Hmm.
teamwork is totally gone. The friendship and meeting people is gone. So I was just thinking that it's really sad, and I really do hope we get out of this soon, because I don't see a great future in this type of learning. Of course it'll have to be blended, and we will do a part of it online now that we started so much work online. But I don't think they can be it can ever be as nice as meeting physically and all. In fact, I agree with the young ones when they say that the hard part of learning is what's happening now. And you really have to put a great effort to learn like this, and it's not so much fun. So I don't think I want to give any advice on this at all. I
Yeah.
think we should just get out of all this. Like I'm starting teaching in September, so I know I'm taking my first lesson online. But my lessons actually start in December when I'm teaching in Sardar Patel University. And my first lesson actual starts in December. I'm just praying to God that flights and everything are working smoothly and I can get there to my students and not have to teach them like this.
Yeah, yeah, that's so true, Sarupji. Because if you can't pass those notes under the desk and share your lunch boxes, there's
Or meet
very little
eyes. I
point in
mean,
filling notebooks with answers.
yeah, just rubbish. In fact, I was just saying the other day is that everything I'm against is what's happening now. I
Yeah.
am not so much for online learning, and oh yes, it's a support. Maybe it's your notes, but not the real learning. When you want to check your notes and say, "अरे क्या भूल गया था? चलो देख लेते हैं." That you can do online, but definitely not learn the first step online. I don't think this works, and I don't like it either. It's not that I'm old fashioned. I'm very, very, modern in my work, but this is not so nice.
So we can't really give anything which is like advice to students. Of course, we know they have to get through this difficult period, but what about teachers, ma'am? What about the government? Is there something that we can do on a larger scale, some sort of advice that you can have which can be applicable at the level of schools or colleges, or even from our HRD ministry, something that will just help youngsters to cope with this period?
More than youngsters, teachers will have to change a lot. And I feel a lot of training will be have to be given to teachers so that they can teach effectively online. I'm very sad to say that a lot of them can't even teach face to face. So when they're going to be teaching online, it's going to be a totally very, very difficult thing for them. And I'm so sad to say that a lot of teachers are so boring. Yeah, I mean, you're actually falling apart in their classrooms. And if they're going to teach online, I think it's going to be like a zero. you
Yeah,
know, like
I can't take her name, but she taught me biology for 11th and 12th. And I used to be sitting right under her nose and I would nap every day in class. So I totally resonate with what you're saying, Swaroop.
absolutely. And they're so boring, and, like there is no excitement in their face, there's no excitement in their eyes. If they're not excited about what they're teaching, how are the students going to like it? Now, making it online is going to even become worse. Charu, think of this, that we took 9, 10, 12 years to become experts in as actors.
Hmm.
Now, these teachers within a day's training or days training expect to become the experts, and the learning that we had after 10, 12 years of facing the camera. Does that make sense? No, I don't think so. So it is it's going to be very difficult. But to the government or the bosses and whoever's running the show, I would say is we really need to get the teachers to be, forget giving advice to the students.
Hmm.
Get the teachers to be, teaching well. Make the curriculum that is, very interesting for the children to be able to learn, online. Make it blended in a correct way, that, the online is not so much. In fact, one friend of mine was just telling that her grandson has a 45-minute class. The first 10-20 minutes, 10-15 minutes, he's listening. And
Hmm.
after that, he's playing with the stool and he's drinking water and he's like wanting to get up and put this video on mute, like put mute, stop the video, walk around. These things don't work. What makes it more difficult for the teachers is that, large classrooms online are very difficult to teach. So it's not going to be so easy. Yes, yeah.
Yeah. We all probably need to brainstorm about this and start tweeting suggestions maybe, or have a support group for teachers maybe, so that we can make life a little more comfortable. But I was curious,
Yes.
Rupji, you have come from a completely different background. You've been an actor your whole life and you've been exemplary in that role, and then the shift to teaching happened, and you are now focused on helping people develop life skills. How did this change happen in your life?
So actually, Charu, it's a very interesting story. Is that I was actually a college dropout, and I just found studies very boring, and I just stopped studying, and I became Miss India and started working in films. But there was this little guilt all the time that, I don't have a degree and I've not studied, because I come from a family which is very highly educated. Like my mom's a surgical oncologist, and my father's done his MA, and, from that time, and my brother's done his MBA, Boston University. So um, I was like, you know, very insecure. I had a very low self-esteem when it came to studies. But I got married and I had kids, and I was in the PTA of my children's school. And there was an offer for teachers and parents to learn about learning disabilities. And none of the teachers agreed to go. So there were two parents who said, okay, let's go. That was me and another friend. Because, koi to jaye school se. अभी teachers नहीं जा रही है तो क्या करें, let us go. So I started learning about learning disabilities, and in one of the lessons of the learning disabilities was using drama to teach, and I thought this is very interesting. And another was a friend who's, the boss of the Early Childhood Association, like the chairperson, Swati. She taught us puppetry. And both these things go very, very well with entertainment. And I thought, hey, this is interesting. So I started teaching social skills for learning disabled. In fact, there was a mixed group of special children with special needs. And I started teaching them social skills, not life skills,
Hmm.
using drama. And I'll tell you what the group was like. There was one child who was mentally challenged. There was one with aphasia, two slow learners, two with two with severe learning disabilities, one with mild learning disabilities, and one with hyperactivity disorder. Now, this group within 1 year did fabulously. They did really well, and I thought, wow. So I wrote to this university in England and asked them for a 2-3 month course where I could learn how to use drama to teach. So they wrote back saying, why don't you do a PhD? Because you have this incredible CV. And that's how I landed doing my PhD. And I was doing social skills, but the person who was kind of my director of studies said, instead of social skills, why don't you do life skills? Now, that was the first time I ever heard of life skills. So that I was about 38 at that time, and I started learning about life skills and started learning about drama in education. And I was about 43 when I finished my PhD. And by that time, I was like an expert in it.
So, you've actually just explained to everyone who's listening to us right now what exactly life skills is. You have managed to reinvent yourself every step of the way, and you have proved that there is no age for learning. Age is
That's
no
true.
bar. All you need is a willingness and an open heart, and you can become whoever you want to be.
Absolutely. I mean, I really feel it would be very sad to stop, doing things. Like my mother is 89 years old and she's a practicing oncologist.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, like she says, no, doctors should never stop working. Well, I want to put it that way is that I think we should never stop working. Because you see, there is this one very wonderful thing called reason to live. And if we don't have a reason to live, then we just give up. So even if it is taking care of the house, which is a very important thing, we need a good reason for it. We need to learn how to, run the house better. Or, if we just want to do our spirituality, we need to look more into him, the Sanatan Dharma, for example. So it's up to you, like what you choose. But you should really not stop learning and, going on.
And Swaroopji, I'm going to now talk about something which is very relevant in today's times. Especially what happens is when life changes, our relationships start changing. And once that happens, it's very difficult to keep your equilibrium. I know that happens with me and it happens with a lot of my friends. Dealing with heartbreak, dealing with distance, dealing with the life changing so suddenly that the comfort you could find by being together physically no longer exists. What is your advice on that?
My God, Charu, you're really putting me in a terrible position by asking me
No,
to give advice. I don't think I've given so much advice in my whole life.
I think this conversation is going to be so helpful to so many people because it's all about conditioning the mind, and that's at the core of everything. Whether
So
you want to learn to speak better, get over a heartbreak, learn how to make food. Maybe you've not done it ever, but then now you need to.
Yes, so I would put that under, like I told you, all life skills are connected, and even matters of relationships, like emotions, are connected with a very interesting thing called problem solving. So you need to understand that you have to be solving this problem and taking a whole lot of decisions. Now, there are lots of problems that we solve every day from the time we get up, and there are lots of decisions we take every day. But, we're not born good at decision making. We need to practice the skills of decision making. We need to practice problem solving. So I have done this very nice module in which when I'm teaching my students, I teach them how to make a flow chart. And in that flow chart is like you say, um, you need to take a decision on something. Now you have to think of many options. The trouble is we never think of that there are many options to decisions. There are many issues that need to be solved in the problems. And we first need to understand what is the problem we need to solve. And we need to find a whole lot of options. I will explain to you with an example a little later, but first just run through this. Is that what we do is, oh, I have to take a decision, this is the answer, and jump in.
Yeah.
Never do that. Stop for a minute and think, options क्या है? अभी options है तो हर एक option, every option has more than one consequence. So you have to literally, that's why you have to do it as a flowchart on a paper. And I actually do it. And I've always done it. So you write it down and then you can see it. So you write down your problem or the decision that you need to take. And then you think of the options. And for each option, you make 3-4 consequences. And then you go through the whole consequences and you discard the ones that are bad. And out of the good ones, you choose one and then you definitely follow it up. I will give you some examples like one where one girl, one student of mine, she said she wanted to learn singing. So she had to take a decision. Now the options were to learn by herself, to learn with a teacher, or to learn from a friend. So the consequences she wrote down are, if I learned on my own, I can learn for free. I can learn at my own time. I do not have to, go up to somebody and say, please, please, please make me learn. But if I learn on my own, I can only learn what I know. I would not be able to understand the finer details of music, like, the tones and the vocal variations, etc. Now to learn from a friend. This friend of mine is learning from a teacher. So I would learn the vocal ups and downs, and I would learn for free because my friend won't charge me. But if I'm learning from her, I will have to beg her and say, please teach me, please teach me. And she would, be over me. Then she said, if I learn from a teacher, the third option, the teacher would charge money, which would be expensive, but I would learn different songs and, I would learn the tones and I would learn vocal variations. And so she said, I think that's the best. And so I should learn from a teacher. And that's how she landed up making a decision. Now what happens is that after she's gone through all these options and thought of the consequences and made a decision, she owns that decision. You understand? It was not done by fluke.
Yeah.
Nahi
It was
main
a well-informed
soch.
choice she has made, and that's why she can stick to it and make it work.
Yes. And not only that, is that when things go wrong or don't, she can, it's okay because, I thought about it. I did not just dive in.
Yeah.
Because when you just dive in, then you are a sufferer. So another girl did this very beautiful thing, is that she learned this problem solving thing from me, and she was in a village and she was 17-year-old and her boyfriend was 19 or 20-year-old. Now she came from a very conservative family, and I had explained to her that child marriage is just not going to be allowed and you cannot do it because it's illegal.
Yeah.
So she went back to her village and she did this whole problem solving with her boyfriend. And she decided, and they decided together, that if he continued living in the village, it was very difficult for her. And, her parents would have, objected to meeting them and things could turn out bad. So they took a decision that that boy would go and work in another village for 1 year and then come back and marry her. But they would not marry till she was 18 years old. You see, these are empowering type of decisions that you make when you think about it. Now, this thing has to be practiced. It's very easy to say, do it. But if you want to really do it well, you need to practice it every day.
I've actually written that down. Well informed choices. And I think this last bit of conversation is going to be of so much use to everyone because
Can I say
it's
one more
something that
thing,
you can do
Paru?
physically.
Charu, I'd like to say one more thing. So
Yeah.
I will share one very beautiful thing. It's for all people, but especially for young kids. And make a decision-making diary. And every night, before going to sleep, think of one decision you made
Hmm.
and think of whether it was a good decision or a bad decision.
Hmm.
If it was a bad decision, say why it was a bad decision
Hmm.
and how you could have improved it. If
Hmm.
it was a good decision, then great. Now do this as a practice every day. If you do this every day, within a few years, you will be definitely making good decisions because you would have practiced your decision making and thinking about the decisions you're making.
Yeah. Uh,
Yeah.
Firstly, a lot of people who are viewing this are either connected to the education field, they're still students.
Sorry, you'll have to repeat it, Charu. I totally lost you.
Okay, okay. Can you hear me now? I think your connection is weak, Swaroopji. Can you hear me now? Am I audible?
Yeah.
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 So I want to connect two things which I feel are very important right now. One is discipline, and the second is
Yeah.
leadership. Can both these things be inculcated in our lives like a skill? Can we teach ourselves to become
Second is what? I missed your second point.
leadership and
Sorry.
discipline? Leadership and discipline. Can we teach ourselves to become
Oh,
leaders?
leadership. Okay, listen. Okay. Oh, yes. Well, first, let's talk about discipline. And I don't think it's a very bad thing. I think it's very great, especially in times like this when if there's too much chaos and you kind of set a proper schedule for yourself and you kind of discipline yourself. And
Mm.
discipline doesn't mean not having fun. So
Yeah.
please don't misunderstand that. It's not, regimental, but yes. So what I've done is I made a proper schedule for myself. When you do it, you make a schedule and you follow a discipline. Somehow, I don't know why it works that way, but you land up becoming much happier and much joyful. The reason is that you're not getting bored, which is kind of, drags you down. You do not have time for negativity. So, like if you decide a time to get up and you get up at that time and you do your exercises and you have your tea and you have your breakfast, again, like I told you, physical and emotions all work together. So, when you're eating chaotically, not drinking enough water, which should be a part of your discipline, it's affecting your mind too. And you're dehydrating, you're eating wrong food, and it's pulling you down because even our shastras tell us this, that everything comes from the stomach.
Hmm.
The mind, body, everything is controlled from there. So
Hmm.
that means what you're eating is being controlled there, what you're drinking is being controlled there. If you're going to be abusing food, then food is going to abuse you. So that is what I mean by discipline. When you say, like I did this discipline, with the kids when they were growing up, is that they had only half an hour of television time. Now both of them joined up their half an hour together and made it 1 hour, which was fine. So they had half an hour one choice and
Smart
half an
kids.
hour of the other.
Yeah.
And yes, but it was only that much. Now you think of the amount of time you would have wasted just sitting in front of the television. You're spoiling your eyes, you're not spoiling, you're hurting your eyes, you're hurting your body because you're sitting like that. That's one of the reasons you need to get up and move around. So that is what discipline is. I think we should look at discipline with a positive connotation.
Yeah.
Now, all these life skills that we're doing help you become a good leader. Because what are the points of a good leader? A good leader is a problem solver. A good leader is a person who takes good decisions. A good leader is creative. A good leader is empathetic. That's a very, very important life skill. A good leader has good communication skills. A good leader has self-confidence. A good leader understands his or her and the other person's emotions. So I have, in short, named all the life skills and put them, you tell me which of the leadership skills are not there in life skills. They
Yeah.
all are there.
Yeah.
So yes, and leadership means what? You don't have to go to lead the country.
No.
You could be running your house well, and that is leadership. You
Absolutely.
could be, working good as a teammate. That is leadership. You could be a good teacher in your classroom. That's leadership. You could be a good principal. That's leadership.
Mm.
So I think these words sometimes are very badly misunderstood. Like I remember once in the class when I was saying that, we take lots of decisions every day.
Mm.
And the whole lot of teachers go, no, we don't take decisions every day. I said, yes, you do. You took the first decision in the morning whether I should get out of bed or not. And you said, yes, I better get out of bed. That's the first decision you took. The other decision you took is whether I should wear this dress or not, whether I should catch
Mm.
this bus or that bus. I mean, we take so many decisions. We have to remember that the decisions we take not only affect us, but they affect our family. And that again comes into leadership.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah. You cannot act in isolation and everything. Correct. Uh, uh,
true.
of course, we've spoken a lot about discipline. I'm just adding one more small thing. Is routine a part of discipline or it's not all that important?
No, it's very, like I told you, you need to make a schedule, you need to make a routine. You need to do it every day. That is how you build your skill. Like you can't say, I will not do it now, today, and forget about it. Tomorrow I'll do it. No. There are some things you don't even want to eat every day. So,
Um,
yeah, I mean, like you breathe every day, you talk every day. So make it a routine. Yes, it should be built into your schedule that no, I will do this much exercise, I will walk so much, I will read so much, I will write so much, I will, have fun so much.
yeah.
Why not? Yeah.
I've got two great takeaways today. No, three actually. My first one is you can learn at any age. You just have to be willing. My second one is actually that flowchart solution you gave us. I think it's going to come in handy for everyone who's listening to us. And the third thing, discipline
Yeah.
plus the routine, and it'll keep you on track in life. And Swaroopji, I think what we have to do post this session is I have to remain connected to you. I have to make sure that I
Of
learn
course,
from
Shar.
you,
My pleasure.
and I would love to learn from you because from this conversation, my first feeling is that there's so much of positivity. You feel in control. You feel like even if there are things around you that are not in control, your reaction is in your control, and you can manage
Yes,
the world.
that's true.
Yeah.
How you react to something is in your control. And how you I like one of these things I teach is, like fear, anger, all these are not negative emotions. They're there positively.
Hmm.
Like if you did not have the fear of failing, you would probably not sit down to study.
Yeah.
Like, if you did not have a fear of darkness, say, you would walk very carelessly and get hurt.
Yeah.
And anger is when something about you is getting hurt, and it gives you so much energy to go and take action. It's not a dull emotion, it's a very high, volatile emotion, so it's a good thing. But like, for example, if I get angry with you and I walk out of this program, or I break something around here, or abuse you, that is bad. So that is in my control of
Yeah.
how I react to my emotions, how I behave, how do I manage it. All that is in my control.
I think I can put it like channelizing your emotions into something constructive and positive,
Correct.
even if it is
Yeah.
a emotion which is associated with something negative.
Yeah.
That's a good way of putting it. What message do you have, Swaroopji, for the millennials right now? Life skills in lockdown.
Life skills is, I think one of the things is that they need to get down and they must do this decision making thing. That's going to help them a lot. One of the things is keep on smiling. It makes a big difference. If you go around with a long face and think the world's just going to end, then it's definitely going to end. But if you have a very positive outlook and look at everything, look for the positive side of things,
Hmm.
and work on that
Hmm.
and make things better, is something. The other thing is that I feel like one of the reasons I do talks like this is that I feel is that we need to help everybody.
Yeah.
You know, um, if we have everything and we are ahead and everybody else is behind, we are going to be very lonely.
Yeah.
So we need to walk with our people.
Yeah.
And for that, we need to help them. Something bring into their life. And everybody, I would hate to say that, I am bichara, I am so poor, I am so, you know, everybody can make something of their life and may look at it positively. I remember one very beautiful thing is that when I was teaching a thing called social imagination, social imagination is how we envision, have a vision of society and how it should be and how good it should be and how people should be in it. And I was working with a whole lot of children in child labor who had never gone to school. And there was this very wonderful girl who should have been in the fifth grade. And, some guests came and they said, okay, so what is social imagination? And she in Marathi turns around and says, Ke, Samaj kasa asawa. So that means how society should be.
Hmm.
And I'm thinking, and they all were so thrilled that this little girl learned so much.
Hmm.
And I'm thinking that if we can use our imagination, then we can make a better society. And that is what we need to do. Is There is this beautiful poem written by Emily Dickinson, which one line is that the slow fuse of possibility is lit by imagination, or imagination lies the slow fuse of possibility. So if we have an imagination and we work on our imagination, everything is possible. And it just makes everything which is even more difficult possible. So I think, it is not that thing is have a dream. It's very important to have a dream, because if you have a dream, then you work towards it. And with the help of imagination, you can make your dream come true. I don't like the idea of people who say कि क्या तुम सपने देखते हो? नहीं, अगर मैं सपना नहीं देखूं, तो I will not move towards it. The
Yeah.
thing is, you can't just see a dream or have an imagination and sit back.
Yeah.
So you need your schedule, you need your discipline, you need to get to work, you need to get out of that coach or your chair or whatever, you get moving and put your dream into action. This is my message.
Yeah. We need to all get rid of lethargy and we need to all look at the positive side in life and get going, stick to it. As Swaroopji said, it's
Yes.
not about doing something for a couple of days or a couple of weeks. It's about doing it day after day, year after year, till it just becomes a part of you and you can't separate it from yourself. And that's what life skill is. Swaroopji, this has been one delightful conversation. And I think today's world needs this empathy and kindness and human understanding so much more than other physical skills. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for
That's true.
putting up with my questions, which were all over the place today. But I've learned a lot, and I'm very certain
No,
everyone
Charu, you
has
were
learned.
very good.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I'm
Thank you
humbled
very
and
much.
obliged we had this time together. And we would like to wrap up by playing the anthem of the India COVID Action Network, which has been doing incredible work across the country. If you would like to connect with us, look us up on Facebook, look us up on Twitter, become a part of this so that you can reach out and help those who need you the most right now. We're all in this together. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Swaroop ji. Namaste. Take
Thank
care.
you. Bye. Bye. Thank you.
मुश्किल है आन पड़ी ये कैसी कठिन घड़ी सहमी सहमी जिंदगी बिखरी हुई बंदगी मानवता है पुकार रही दिखाए हम दरिया दिली I can you can we can India can I can you can we can India can सब मिल जाए तो मिलकर हाथ बटाए तो टल जाएगी ये घड़ी झूमेगी फिर से खुशी आशा टूटे नहीं हौसला रूठे नहीं साथ ये छूटे नहीं मंजिल दूर नहीं मानवता है पुकार रही दिखाए हम दरिया दिली I can